sir.
Thanks. Thank you.
I'm going to open that.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our 2019 Orlando Pride Media Day press conference. My name is Jackie Maynard. I'm the Senior Communications Manager here at Orlando City. First, I'd like to welcome our Lion Nation members in the back who are in attendance today. And then I'd also like to welcome our two guests for today's press conference. First to my left here, Erik Ustruck, the General Manager of Orlando Pride. Erik is a familiar face with the Orlando City organization, starting as a player, working his way up through soccer operations, before being promoted to General Manager of the Pride earlier this year. To his left is our brand new head coach of Orlando Pride, Marc Skinner. Marc came to us from Birmingham City Women, where he spent a couple seasons there, was very successful, and then made the trip over the pond to join us. So welcome to both of you. Thank you for taking time. First, I'd like to start with just a question for both of you. If you could just kind of discuss the emotion of the opportunity presented to both of you in first years with the club, but also the team as a whole. We'll kick it off with Erik first.
Obviously, it's a nice achievement, part of my career, to be named general manager for the women. I think it's something that I'm excited about. I think it's something that the club's excited about. Having someone dedicated to the Pride themselves, I think is really, really important. I'm excited to be able to select Marc as our first head coach. Sorry, as our next head coach. I think the women seem excited. I think the staff seem excited. So this is an exciting year for us.
Yeah, I'm over the moon, to be honest. It's a challenge I wanted. It's something where I see in my career I can go forward and push a team of exceptional, talented players and achieve something. That's what we're here to do. But I'd like to thank Erik for selecting me as the Pride head coach, and it's something that in my career, when you're starting out as a coach, you're not sure that you'll get to. But I'm so proud and privileged to be here, and I'm going to make sure that we do it proud. So it's a great privilege for me to be here.
All right, I'm now going to open up the question and start with Jenny in the back there.
Coach, now the team is back together, how have you felt about preseason and the team as a whole?
Well, I think pre-seasons are always a finding out process, especially your first one. So I think to get all of the girls back together, even though it's a little bit drip-fed over the first week or so, when the girls come back from international experiences, I find it to be, it's enthralling to have all of the players at the disposal and to get them back in and to see what they can do. And just see their personalities and their characters. And I think that's been the biggest thing for me, to meet them individually. We've had individual meetings and we continue to finish those over the next week or so. But I've been nothing but excited. The energy, the buzz around the camp is really, really something that it energises you as a person. So long may that continue, and that's our job to ensure we continue that. But it's been great to be in camp so far.
We'll go to Jordan in the front.
Marc, you're now in the second week of preseason training. Most of the time has been without the international players. So now looking at the team without international players, have you identified clear needs for this team going into a World Cup year, and how will you strengthen this team going into a World Cup year?
I think it's a good question. I think absolutely first and foremost is to make sure we understand what every player can do. We are extremely privileged to have such star players, players that have been experienced in various footballing capacities. But everybody's part of this team, and everybody has to play a part in this team. So I think pre-season is vital for me to see the characters that will support us, especially during the World Cup process and periods. But look, I've always identified my targets. I already know if I could build an ideal team, what that would look like. But for me now, we've got some really good players. Some players that I never knew have shown talents that I never knew they had because I've not met them before. So I think that to give them the time to show their qualities is what pre-season's about, and we're still not through that process yet. Although we have our targets, we will still make sure that we give everybody a fair chance to show that they can put the Pride jersey on and do us all proud.
Go to Despina, then to Luis.
Coach, when you came in, I mean, what was the feedback you were hearing from the team? Obviously, Tom Sermanni was here for the 3 previous seasons. What did you really see they needed right off the bat and to address that, to know that you guys were moving, in a new direction?
I think you just said the word, the direction. I think it's everyone's under no illusion that Tom's a wonderful, wonderful person and a great coach, and I'm sure he'll do wonderful things with New Zealand. But I think the girls just were ready for a new direction. That's my job. My job is to come into here, share that direction. So not just, although that we're gonna lead that together. So it has to be a synergy, rather than it just be me. This is what you're going to do. We allow the way we coach our players to make decisions on the field. It's so vital. If you're going into environments where it's potentially hostile because of the amount of fans they'll play against and they can't hear coach, they need to know what they're doing. And I think that's what they were really hankering on. So that's what they wanted. Before we came in, we asked the girls to fill out a questionnaire based on what they thought their needs were for this season. And from there, we will design our programme around that. I think one of the key aspects was just clear communication, clear direction, what is our identity as a team. And I think without that, you don't really know where you're heading, and that's what we will give to this team, definitely.
We're going to go to Luis, then Mike.
Erik, during the off-season, the club announced a partnership with Ustruck that included the women's side. Can you talk a little bit about how you've utilized that partnership or how you're planning on utilizing that?
With Wolfsburg, I have yet to make a connection. I know that Luisa spoke with them on the men's side. For us, I would like to explore options, and whether that's bringing them over in the January timeframe for preseason camp for them, maybe that makes sense for us. But then again, exploring player options if there are loan deals that are available. We want to look into all opportunities that are available.
We'll go to Mike and then Melissa.
Coach, you mentioned new direction. Obviously, with the year we're facing now with the World Cup year, what's it actually going to take for the Pride to return to the playoffs after missing the postseason last year?
Do you know what? We weren't that far off. I think I look at when I came in, although we were far off in kind of maybe performances, we weren't that far off in results. So what it takes is for them to understand exactly what we want. Look, guys, it takes a little bit of time and a little bit of patience to understand how we want you to play. You might see it as high risk how we try to play, but I don't. I know how we want to play, and I know that we want to give this team an identity where it makes people want to come and watch. And for me, that will be the sole focus. So we've got a lot of habit training to do with these girls. We've got some of the best players in the world, but their habits need to improve. And my job isn't to be a fan of any of the players in the group. It's to make sure that they are achieving their potential and make sure that I am able to coach them in the direction that we need them to head. So I think that if we're looking at it, I think that if we can give them the direction, the constant coaching, I think if you ever come down to watch the training sessions, you'll see that I'm not just somebody who stands on the side. I'm somebody that's always in the sessions. I'm always directing. I'm interacting with the players. And I think what people tend to forget is most of your interactions are done away from the field. So if you create good relationships, an environment and a culture where players can share their thoughts, I think that you're onto a winner. And that's what I want to bring to this team.
We're going to go to Melissa and then to Michael.
Coach, kind of speak to the difference that you've witnessed personally in the difference in the football culture over across the pond versus what you've experienced here in the preseason in the U.S.
Can I just say, guys, first and foremost, call me Marc. That's my name. So you don't have to call me Coach. Call me Marc. My mum called me Marc, so you can call me Marc. I think the massive differences that I've found in there are some. So the athleticism in this league is exceptional. It's exceptional. But what I would say on the flip reverse of that is the control of the transitional play. I almost liken it to a basketball match at times where it goes 3v3, 4v4. I think you can do better at controlling that. So with more tactical input, more direction as you build up on the field, as you're attacking, you're also defending, but people forget that. In the 4 components of the game, whether that's transition to attack, transition to defence, or defence and attack, if you can't control all of those at the same time, you're probably doing something wrong. That's our job. Now, we have to re-educate players or just switch on their senses to do that. That's what we will be doing in training. And I think once you awaken them, they love our style of football. I'm 100% sure that our players will love how we're asking them to play, but they have to be brave. And if you want to do something different and you want success to come to Orlando, then they're going to have to be brave. And that's how I will expect them to be. And there's an expectation from me that my job is to support them through that process rather than just, if they can't do it, cut them and off you go. You'd be surprised at the names of tomorrow. You don't know them yet, but it could be anyone. And my job is to make that player. So I'm not just here to coach to win. I'm here to coach to improve, to make the players have an experience where they want to be at this club. I want everybody in the NWSL to want to come to this club because it's you're not only treated as a good person, but you're also going to improve as a player and be successful. That's what my job is. It's tough. I'm going to set the bar high, but that's what I'm here to do.
I'm going to go to Michael, then Christian.
I'm not sure if this is a better question for Erik or Marc, but the North Carolina preseason game is coming up. What else can you tell us about the structure of the preseason, and has there been, obviously the North Carolina game, first time for the Pride to go away to another NWSL team in the preseason. What else can you tell us about that, and has there been any conversation about possibly an Orlando Pride Invitational like Orlando City did?
You want to take it?
I think the idea of having North Carolina was to kind of get us up to speed of playing an NWSL team. It's 3rd week in, so we will play fixtures that will challenge the players in different ways. That's what we're trying to design around our pre-season structure. We had an in-house, what you guys would call a scrimmage, we'd call a game, but we had an in-house game last week and it was the biggest eye-opener I've ever had. So I've got lots of things to work on, but lots of good things to work with. So again, the idea was to go away, travel, so we experienced being on the road as well as a staff together. So I think it's the experiences we're trying to build. That's why we went to North Carolina. And then the rest of the fixtures will be designed around honing in the minutes we need to get us geared up to the start of the season. But then I suppose that if we're looking for an invitation in the future, I'm sure that as me and Erik work together closely, I'm sure that's something we can discuss and see if it's in the best interest of the team.
Yeah, it may be difficult just because we have the men's team as well, and so the stadium's typically occupied throughout preseason for us. But it's an option that we can always explore and figure out. Maybe if it's not at the stadium, we figure out another off-site location. But again, just to attest to the North Carolina match and what Marc said, we do obviously want to try and mirror travel, what that's going to look like in the season to better prepare us for the regular season. And we also just wanted to use it as kind of a gauge on where we're at throughout preseason. Okay, North Carolina is very successful in the NWSL. What do we need to do to get to that level? Are we at that level? Are we above that level? Have we already exceeded that level? So it gives us a good starting point for the regular season, something to gauge our level.
We're going to go to Christian, then Jordan.
Marc, touched on the identity a little bit, I guess. Could you maybe expand on what style of football will the fans that are coming out to see watch?
A positional based style. So while you're in possession, it's about moving and exploiting the spaces that the opposition leave. It's quite technical, it's quite tactical, and it takes a little bit of time. That's why it takes a little bit of time for the players to understand it. But what most teams see is they see a formation and they see this is how you play against that formation. What we want to do is manipulate the opposition into the formation we want to exploit their spaces. So we will look at simplifying the game when it needs to be simplified, but possessing the ball, trying to stay on the front foot and dictate games through possession of the ball. And that takes time. But that's what it will look like in the end. And it's almost picking your opportunity to score rather than just every opportunity you think you've got to try and score. And I think that's the NWSL is so athletic. They're so good in 1v1 situations that I think we don't want to waste an opportunity to score, where I think you can be more... The more passes you have, the more ability you have to dictate the stopping of the counter-attack. And the positional-based play will do that for us. And that's as much as I'm willing to give you at the minute.
Going to go to Jordan, then Adam.
Erik, just to ask a question about a specific player, one player who's more or less unaccounted for, at least for us, is Camilla. What's the status on bringing her back to the team?
So Camilla's actually very close. She's been in Brazil back home for the off season, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to get her a green card. So we're awaiting her interview, which is actually today. So we expect to have her back by the weekend.
Okay, we'll go to Adam, and then Victor.
Hey, Marc. How much of your job do you see as managing some of the big personalities, the big stars on this team?
I think that, you know what, that's so many people have asked me that question. I think I asked that from back home as well. And I just see them as people. It genuinely sounds ridiculous, but regardless on their journeys to where however good they are or perceived to be, they're still people. And if that person's having a bad day, you manage them in the right way, you affect them, you adapt training sessions to meet their needs. So I think I see it as just people, and that sounds crazy, but that allows me to work with anybody in the world, regardless of their talent ability. And from that perspective, I think they've received that pretty well. It just means that, yes, we have to adapt and treat each individual in their own case, but also you have to have a team culture that runs throughout. So you can't really put people on pedestals. You can put them up there for people to aspire to be like, of course, but when you have the players that are coming in every day and then they're going to look at those players and they can never reach that target because that's what they think in their own heads. Football psychology, soccer psychology. If you are able to control your mindset going into that, and that's what I try to do. So with the players, I treat them like people, ask them how they are, what they're doing. We shake hands every morning. Just treat them like people. And I'll get the best out of them on the football field then because of the way that we play. I'm sure we can. So I suppose it's not really a secret, but that's how I dealing with some of the bigger players that people perceive us to have. But they're brilliant people. That's what I must say. Like, I've met them. You wouldn't think on a platform that they are the superstars that they are, because they're just people and they want to work and they want to be great at what they do. They work hard. That's why they're good. That's probably why you guys are good, because you work hard at what you do, I hope. So that's what they are. They're good people, and that's what we need in our culture. You know, we touch on North Carolina and Portland being successful teams, and obviously some very, very good teams as well apart from that, but I think they build a good culture, and that's what we must do here.
We're going to go to Victor and then to Courtney.
This could be for both, but beginning with Erik, what have your conversations been like with Marc in terms of expectations for the team this season?
I think we need to get back to establishing a winning culture. I think it's really, really important. I think we need to build a new tradition here within the club. I think we need to establish an identity. So these are things that were touch points in our conversations originally before we brought him over. But what stood out to me is the type of person that he is and his vision of what he can do and what he intends to accomplish here in the league. So I think he's a perfect candidate for us, obviously, to fulfill some of those goals and achievements this year.
And I'd just like to echo that. And again, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Erik, but none of you can put as much pressure as I put on myself. So whether the results will go the way that they will go, we'll be building a winning culture. I know that because I put every bit of energy into doing that. So I have no fear sitting up here and saying that we are aiming to win every game. I have no fear in telling you that, because I ain't going out on that field to try and lose. That would be silly, regardless of the opposition we play. I will need to know that there needs to be a patience for this team to understand what we want them to do, because it seems that the two cultures from where we want to build to where it was are poles apart. And so there's going to be a bit of time to transfer the girls into that. But already in the first week or two, I've seen a want to buy into that, a desire to buy into that. But trust me, guys, no matter what questions you throw at me, you can see I'm pretty comfortable knowing that I want to win and try to win every game and prepared to do that.
I'm going to go to Courtney, then Luis.
Mark, good to see you again. In
Oh,
terms of building that culture and bringing it to where you want it to be, your relatability, you come across extremely relatable. How much do you think will that sort of impact the way you can relate to those players and sort of speak their language in a way?
I think they're all somebody's daughter, and recently, obviously, I've become a new-time father, so I think that I've always called wherever I've been, whether it was in youth football with the girls or whether it's been at Birmingham, I always see them as my daughter regardless of age. So I think that I'm here to guide them in the right direction, to support them when they need it, but also to tell them when I believe they're wrong, but also to support evidence as to why I believe that's the case rather than just scold them for no reason. And that's probably why, because of my education background, I suppose that's why I try to educate the players regardless of what they've done or who they are, because they'll educate me as well. So we'll learn. It's a two-way learning process. I've never met anybody that doesn't want to be successful, doesn't want to be helped, doesn't want to learn something new. And if they do, they won't be welcome in this culture. But so far I've seen only players that want to learn, only players that want to stay on the field and get better. So I think the relatability comes from the fact that a lot of it's common sense and a lot of it's connection to people. Find out the person and it'll help you to understand the footballer.
I'm going to go to Luis, then we'll wrap up with Jordan.
This is for Erik. Based on some history from last season going forward, will the Pride have a recognized supporter group, and if so, who?
Yes, they will have a recognized supporter group. I don't think I'm at liberty to speak about it just yet, but yes, there will be one this year.
Jordan, final question.
And again, for Erik, last season there were some lows in attendance for the Pride. What's being done to counter that and to get more fans back into seats to see this new regime?
I brought Marc in for a reason, and that was part of it, to win. And I think by the attractive style of football that we're going to play and by winning, I think it's going to attract the right people. So we'll be all right.
All right, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Erik and Marc. And we will see you on April 14th when the Pride open the season against Portland.
Thank you for your time, guys.
Thanks,
Thank you very
guys.
much.
Appreciate
Appreciate
it.
it. Thank you.